Elevate your biblical understanding with our masterclass on the Book of Ruth. Together, we'll venture beyond the surface-level love story and examine Israel's domestic life during the tumultuous period of the Judges. While many scholars focus on four purposes, our in-depth analysis will reveal a vital fifth: the inadequacy of the law and the essential nature of God's grace. Through expert-led discussion, we'll explore how the Book of Ruth portrays everyday individuals grappling with the Mosaic Law, only to confront a stark reality: the law brings sin and death, not life. As the Apostle Paul teaches, it's God's grace that liberates us. Don't miss this chance to delve into the profound insights concealed within this ancient narrative. Join us for a masterclass that will transform your perspective. Reserve your spot now. Hey there, friends. Today we're diving into the Book of Ruth, which is often seen as a simple fairy tale love story. But guess what? There's so much more to it than meets the eye. The Book of Ruth gives us a glimpse into the domestic life of Israel during the chaotic period of the Judges. Many teachers stop there, but let's dig deeper. Scholars generally agree on four main purposes of the book. 1. Showing faith and godliness in a time of apostasy. 2. Illustrating the concept of the kinsman redeemer. 3. Demonstrating that God's grace in the Old Testament includes the Gentiles. And 4. Tracing David's ancestry back to Judah, placing him in the line of the Messiah. But hold on, because there's a fifth purpose that's often overlooked, but very important. Remember, the Book of Ruth shows us life under Mosaic Law during the tabernacle years, before the temple in the days of the kings. This was a time when everyone did what was right in their own eyes, Judges 21, verse 25. While much of Bible study focuses on the New Testament and the temple, with all its regulations and authorities, the Book of Ruth shows everyday people taking responsibility for obeying the law themselves. No religious officials are involved, just tribal leaders and individuals. This personal accountability reveals a heartfelt devotion to following the Mosaic Law by the main characters. But even with this devotion, they faced a problem. The law became a prison, as the Apostle Paul described in Galatians 3, verses 23 to 25. The law could lead them to solutions for current problems, but it could not lead them to life. As the Apostle Paul said in Romans 8, verse 2, Mosaic law is the law of sin and death. So the important fifth purpose of the Book of Ruth is 5. Illustrating that obedience to the law still leads to sin and death. It is God's grace that is required for life. In other words, where the law fails, grace prevails.
Next, the historical background and time period of the book is given in Ruth chapter 1, verse 1, in the days of the Judges. The Book of the Judges is a commentary on the nature and characteristics of spiritual apostasy. The covenant failures of Israel in the Book of Judges are contrasted with the covenant faithfulness of Jehovah in the Book of Ruth. The overriding principle of the Book of Judges is failure through compromise. Unlike the Book of Judges, though, the Book of Ruth is the story of sacrifice rather than self-centered interests. So, we know the Book of Ruth takes place during the time of the Book of Judges. But determining the historical time period of the Book of Ruth within the Book of Judges is difficult. Because Ruth chapter 1 presents a time period of a famine in the land of Judah, some scholars have placed the time of Ruth as in the days of Gideon, Judges chapter 6, verses 3 and 4. However, famines are common in Judah throughout the history of the Old Testament. For example, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all faced famines while living in the southern wilderness and Negev, which later became part of the allocation of land to the tribe of Judah. Famines were always a part of life in the land of Judah until modern irrigation techniques alleviated the problem. So determining the time period by a famine is not possible.
Continuing the historical time period, some scholars have tried to date the time period of the Book of Ruth by the good relationship with the people of Moab. Moab in Genesis 19, verse 37, was a son of Abraham's nephew Lot. Lot fathered his sons by incestuous unions with his daughters. Moab was the son of Lot and his elder daughter. Ammon was the son of Lot and his younger daughter. These sons of Lot, Moab and Ammon, settled on the south and east sides of the Dead Sea, as seen during the Exodus and throughout the books of Samuel and the Kings. Their descendants varied between being friends, pests, and enemies with Israel. So again, determining the exact time period by the relationship with Israel is not possible, other than the time period of the Judges, as stated prior. Another possible insight is in the fact that the name of David, the future king, is mentioned in Ruth chapter 4, but Solomon is not. The lack of mention of Solomon suggests that the Book of Ruth was written during the reign of David. Suggested authors include Samuel the prophet, David the king, or another member of David's court or family. In contrast, some scholars have suggested that the Book of Ruth was written in the time of Ezra and Nehemiah as a protest against the stringent laws Ezra and Nehemiah enforced prohibiting marriage between Jews and Gentiles. But the lack of the mention of Solomon and his foreign wives would seem to work against that supposition. So what can we conclude about the historical time period of the Book of Ruth? 1. The events take place during the days of the Judges. 2. There was a famine at the beginning of the story. 3. The people of Moab were favorable to Israelites at the beginning of the story. And 4. Ruth was an actual Old Testament character in the genealogy of David.
Now, let's talk about Ruth herself. The book is named after Ruth the Moabitess. The meaning of her name is uncertain. Some say it means friend, others suggest rose. We don't know. But regardless of what her name means, what is clear is that Ruth's purity and faithfulness are very important to the Messianic line. She is worthy of a royal title, not because of her nationality or behavior, but because she was chosen by Jehovah to fulfill his work in establishing the people of God. The Book of Ruth is also historically significant in the Hebrew Bible and Jewish worship. It is one of the 5 books included in the Megillah, which were read in the synagogue on special occasions. The Book of Ruth was read at the Feast of Weeks, later known as Pentecost. Greek translators considered the book an appendix to the Book of Judges, but later editions of the Septuagint indicated a break between Judges and Ruth. So, what can we learn from the structure and content of the Book of Ruth? The book is laid out in a natural, sequential outline based upon the chapter divisions. Here's the breakdown we'll explore in this study. Chapter 1. Violations of the Law. Chapter 2. Benefits of the Law. Chapter 3. Limitations of the Law. Chapter 4, verses 1 to 12. Failure of the Law. And Chapter 4, verses 13 to 22. God's provision through faith.
Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey through the Book of Ruth. We've only scratched the surface of the profound insights this ancient narrative holds. To continue exploring the transformative lessons hidden within its chapters, be sure to join us in the next video. We'll dive even deeper into the text of the Book of Ruth, uncovering more about faithfulness, the power of redemption, and the enduring love that changed the course of history. Don't miss out. See you in the next video.
Thank you for joining our masterclass on the Book of Ruth. Today, we've only scratched the surface of the profound truths hidden within this ancient text. In our next video, we'll dive even deeper into the historical time period and more, exploring the beautiful tapestry of redemption woven throughout Ruth's journey. Don't miss out on the revelations awaiting you. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to ensure you don't miss our next insightful session. Keep seeking, keep learning, and let's grow together. See you in the next video.